Welcome back to Bakes on Things. Yesterday we talked about the polls, we've talked about the mainstream media and their bias toward the liberals. And in your comments, I have heard from many liberal supporters, why don't you do an episode on the disinformation of social media? So guess what? That's today's topic. Who's better, social media or mainstream media? Both are painting a very different picture of the Canadian election in 2025. And we're going to take a look at it today. Let's go. All right, Canada, welcome back. Before we go any further, please like, share, and subscribe. The more you do that, the more the message gets out. So let's stop pretending. Let's stop dancing around it, Canada. Our media is broken, and it's time that we call it what it is. Now, this liberal commenter asking me to comment on social media is going to cause me to do a bit of a comparison today because we have called out the media before, but rightfully so, we didn't call out social media at all. So let's take a look at this. In this 2025 election, while Canadians are struggling to pay for groceries, while they are struggling to afford housing, while our young people have no dream of owning a home, there's a struggle to find a job that pays enough to live. Our mainstream media is here selling us a Donald Trump fantasy and a liberal fairy tale. And if it weren't for social media, for podcasts like this one and others I'm going to mention in this episode, independent creators and political outsiders, we'd have no clue what's actually going on in this election. So today, we're exposing all the lies, but we will compare and contrast it to social media. So this is a rant that Canadian media execs, pollsters, and party insiders do not want you to see, but you're watching, and I thank you for that. So let's go. All right. So first topic we got to talk about is the Liberal Party's PR department, otherwise known as the mainstream media. Yeah, that's right. You knew I was going to say it, and liberal commenters, you knew I was going to say it, but let's start with the obvious. Canadian mainstream media has become a liberal echo chamber, just spewing whatever the liberals say and spinning it as positively as they possibly can. You know it. I know it. But now, millions of Canadians are waking up to it too. And this is what's scaring the liberals. The liberals are terrified that people will not take the CBC seriously. So, what are we going to do? We're going to announce a policy that we're so confident in the CBC, we're going to give them even more of your taxpayer money. So, let's take the CBC, for example, paid for by you, the taxpayer, to the tune of over $1.2 billion a year currently, not including Mark Carney's added money. And yet, somehow, nearly every headline reads like a press release from Mark Carney's campaign team. Are we surprised? Let me give you some examples because, again, people in the comments will say you didn't share any examples. It's all hearsay. Well, all right. Here are your examples. Over the last 3 months, here are just a few of them. These are actual headlines from the mainstream media. One, Carney rallies the nation behind climate vision. This was shared in the last 3 months when everybody knows that the carbon tax is a hot button issue, but they've spun it anyway. Poilievre's populism threatens unity. This is another one that they've put out. Liberal platform focuses on compassion. Conservatives are focused on cuts. Compassion for what? You ruined the country over the last decade. What are you compassionate about? You put everybody in this position. Anyway, let me translate for you. This is what the liberal mainstream media is trying to tell you. Carney is smart, Poilievre is dangerous, and liberals care. The problem is, all of that's untrue. And they'll try to tell you that the conservatives are scary. The big, scary conservative machine and the big rallies mean nothing. And the groundswell is useless. Ignore it. But that's not journalism. It's narrative control. And this is what they do on a daily basis, day in and day out, this entire campaign. They've ignored conservative crowds, and liberal weakness has been downplayed throughout this campaign. So let me ask you something. When Pierre Poilievre pulled in 15,000 people, the biggest political rally in Canadian history, how many front page stories did you see? None. Not one. Not the CBC, not the Globe and Mail, not the Toronto Star, not Global News, not CTV especially. CBC buried it. CTV ignored it. Toronto Star focused on whether Poilievre was too aggressive in tone. Yeah, that's right. Records being broken, and mainstream media not only ignores it, they bury it in the headlines. Meanwhile, Carney pulls 900 people into a theater and they call it an electrifying environment. It's absolutely laughable. And there's going to be answers that need to be given at the end of this campaign. But it's also dangerous because most Canadians still consume traditional media in some sense, whether you have cable or not or whatever. You might go to their websites, you might read the newspapers still, whatever it is. The mainstream media is still consumed. And that's why they're doing this. If you only read the CBC or watch CTV, you'd think Carney was already prime minister again by over 30 points in some cases. Nanos polls on CTV had the audacity to say they were up 50 points. But that's not what's happening on the actual ground. We talked about this already about the rallies. That's not what's happening on TikTok. That's not what's happening on X. That is not what's happening in town halls or at rallies, because that's where real Canadians are talking to each other, not the mainstream media, not the pollsters, not a robo dialer. They're talking to each other. So enter social media. You wanted this contrast, liberals? I'm giving it to you. Sorry, you're not going to love it. The counterforce to controlled narratives is social media. And now, thank God, we've got social media. The great equalizer in this election campaign, the place where you can go around the narrative, cut through the spin, and actually hear what people are thinking. Now, again, there is obviously crap on social media. I'm not denying that. I'm not taking that away from social media. There is crap there. But Canadians are smart people, and they're the ones that need to be able to filter the crap. Okay. So let me give you some shout outs here where there's not crap happening, where it's actually phenomenal. Jasmine Lane and her Over Opinionated podcast, a phenomenal watch where she digs in. And if she has to take a shot at Pierre Poilievre, she will. But she's breaking down polling manipulation and exposing media hypocrisy, all while exposing the right policies for Canada. Northern Perspective just did a great interview yesterday with a whistleblower. Awesome show. It's hitting hard on federal overreach and media censorship. Moose on the Loose. I mean, you can watch this guy 2 or 3 times a day, and it's all great stuff. It's unapologetic truth bombs from a Canadian lens. We haven't had that before in Canada. We've had to sit and listen to This is Radio 1. It's 4 o'clock in the a.m., and we're talking Mark Carney and his boring wife. The Pleb. The Pleb is good too. Boots on the ground. They've got the rally coverage. Unfiltered stuff here. Elevate. Another one, cutting through the garbage and jargon and laying out what policies actually mean. If you haven't checked out any of those podcasts, check them out. They're awesome. Our show, even. I'm new to the game, but it doesn't matter because we're able to have this discussion in the comments. We're able to have this discussion together and then produce episodes like these. These are not corporate suits. These are real people doing real on the ground journalism, even though they aren't professionally doing that in their professional lives. And the establishment, who we should call liberals from now on, hates it. Hates it. It's against the establishment. So here's why they want you on social media silenced. You have to follow the money. See, let's talk dollars and cents here. When Trudeau was the prime minister, the Trudeau government, now continuing, of course, under Mark Carney, has handed out $595 million, $500 million in media bailouts. Why do you think they support this party? And this funding was sent to select news organizations since 2019. It continues to get paid out. And that's taxpayer money, folks, that's going to media companies who can drum up advertising at the drop of a pen. But why would they when they're getting your money instead? While those same companies are supposed to fairly cover elections. They're supposed to fairly cover that government that supports them, but they don't. So do you see the problem here? Follow the money. That's what that's what Carney's doing by becoming prime minister. It's all going to benefit his companies. Would you write bad reviews for the guy who signs your paycheck? I don't think you would. I want to see you do that tomorrow with your bosses, liberals. Write down bad complaints about them and see what happens. Well, neither do they. Neither do the mainstream media. But you can't blame them for it. Think about it. You got $500 million coming in. But here's the kicker: the organizations that got bailout money were approved by government appointed panels. You literally had to get government approval to qualify for independent media funding. This speaks to a lot of Carney's policies, the red tape and everything that's in the way. But what it does is it allows them to filter that media. So you basically can tell them, you must tell us, you must say something positive about us, or you don't get this funding. Well, that's not journalism. Now you're just creating propaganda. Many of you have seen in my comments the liberal propaganda alerts. That's all I'll do is reply to liberals with their propaganda and call it out. It's everywhere. Let's not pretend this is some conspiracy, though. This is not conspiracy theory. This is real. We've got the receipts. Payments have been made. And if you think that they're not twisting it to their bosses, of course they are. Because they had to twist it to their bosses as an agreement to get the money in the first place. Even though poll after poll shows Canadians no longer trust the media still hasn't done much to improve that. See, 49% of conservative supporters believe that most news is either government controlled or is corporate propaganda. Okay. Now, the liberals actually believe that some of this is true as well, even though the support is going their way. Even among liberals, only 37% of liberals say that they completely trust the media. And nearly 60% of Gen Z and the millennials, the ones who are mobilizing on the ground. You think a tradesperson has time or energy to answer a poll or to watch CTV News? They don't. They get their election info from podcasts, like we mentioned earlier, from TikTok, from YouTube, and social media, not the CBC. This is Radio 1. It's 5:25 in the AM. This is a guy on a piano. Enjoy. No, they don't get it from there. Why? Because the bias is obvious. Poilievre proposes cutting the carbon tax. Media calls it reckless. Why? What's reckless about saving you money on something that wasn't affecting the climate in any way whatsoever? And the funny thing is that your big hero here, the man on the white horse, Mark Carney, actually copied that policy and reduced the carbon tax to zero. And the media calls it bold when he does that, even though he created the problem. Well, he was part of creating the problem. We'll give him that. Poilievre talks about protecting parental rights. The media says it's dangerous extremism. Carney says the same thing, defends parents. And the media says, look at the compassionate balance that Mark Carney is providing. Here's a guy on the violin. No, we can't do this anymore, guys. This isn't journalism. It's narrative engineering, and they know it, and they want you to miss it. Here's why social media is the last wall between Canada and chaos. And listen, I am not saying in any stretch, on any stretch, or by any stretch, I should say, that social media is perfect. It's not. But we can all say that the mainstream media is not either. So we're just having a little talk here. And you want to know why they're panicking about TikTok, especially? Why YouTube comment sections are suddenly being monitored? Why Facebook is deboosting political content? If I wanted to advertise this video on YouTube, I wouldn't be able to because it's political content. I can't get that out to you. But it doesn't matter because you're getting it out yourselves by watching it and sharing it. And that's why when we all say share it, we're not being egotistical. We're not trying to get views here. We're trying to get the message out. Because when we do it on here, they lose control of the story. And when the story collapses, like the Donald Trump tariff story collapsing all around them this week, when people realize they've actually been lied to, the system follows. And that's why the 2025 election feels so different to everybody. You know, it doesn't feel the same as any other election. And it's not Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney in themselves necessarily. It's not just left versus right. What we're seeing is truth versus illusion. And people want to say that social media is the illusion, but it's not because there's multiple videos of proof. And people like you watching this right now are the actual firewall to the disinformation of the mainstream media. Because you're watching this, you're watching the other podcasts I mentioned, you're watching other videos, you're creating your own. It's incredible. So here's what you can do right now. This isn't just a rant, it's a call to action. Do things like sharing this podcast. I don't care if you don't share mine and share others, just share. Share independent media. Subscribe to creators like myself or to the other creators we've mentioned in this show who are telling the truth. Push back in the comments. If you see a liberal comment, I push back. I put down the alert. It's the propaganda alert. Push back. You can do that. You're allowed. It's free speech and you can think for yourself and question everything, especially the headlines. Nobody's judging you for that. Question it. Why is one headline about the exact same topic totally different? And above all, just stay informed. And because social media isn't perfect, but right now, it's the only place left where real Canadians still have an actual voice. Imagine if you walked into the CTV studios and said, I'd like to share my opinion on this election. They wouldn't know what you're going to say, and they would never let you do it. If we don't use our opinion, though, we lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it. My wife always says that. Right. And so this is a war for the narrative and the nation. The mainstream media has had a shot. They had a shot to keep Canadians informed, and they blew it. They took the money, they pushed the spin, and now they've lost the people. And yes, they'll still have their loyal, people who watch their programs, right? But the reality is that's not enough people to push the narrative, and that's why they're scared. But the people who are speaking anyway on TikTok, on YouTube, in group chats, and DMs, and podcasts, and live streams are the real people. The people walking around the street with you, the people that meet you at the grocery store, the people that meet you at the local pool, the people that meet you at your kids' sports. They're the real people, and they're sharing what they think. And that's real information. We're not waiting to be heard anymore. We're making noise as a society, and the mainstream media is scared of that. We're telling the truth on social media, and we're talking and taking Canada back. And we're doing all of this one post at a time, just like this one. Please support it, share, like, please give a subscribe. All it does, it doesn't help me as much as it would help the fact that we can get this message out. It is important that we get this message out. So, liberal commenter who pushed out, what about social media? You take down the mainstream media. I think I've said here that social media is not perfect. But one thing it does do is a groundswell of information from people who actually work on the ground. Thanks so much for watching. This has not been Radio 1 at 7 a.m. on the dial. Now time to get back to the ukulele and Peter Smith. I don't know. Thanks for watching.